I thought it was lovely. Once, all villagers decided to pray for rain. On the day of prayer, all the people gathered, but only one boy came with an umbrella. That is faith. When you throw babies up in the air, they laugh because they know you will catch them. That is trust. Every night we go to bed without any assurance of being alive the next morning, but still we set the alarm to wake up. That is hope. We plan big things for tomorrow in spite of zero knowledge of the future. That is confidence. We see the world suffering, but still we get married and have children. That is love. An old man was wearing a shirt that said, "I am not 80 years old. I am sweet 16 with 64 years of experience." That is attitude. Faith, trust, hope, confidence, love, and attitude. I think that's a nice way to start the day. And we have this morning, Sherry is offering our special music.
Testing, testing. Good morning, everyone. It's so lovely to be here. I'm happy to see you all. And I'm going to sing a little song for you. Okay. We are becoming the song of our heart. How beautiful it is, how beautiful it is, as the flower blossoms forth. We are becoming the song of our heart. How beautiful it is, how beautiful it is, as the flower blossoms forth. We are becoming the song of our heart. How beautiful it is, how beautiful it is, as the flower blossoms forth. Feel the earth between our toes, for my friends will never know what tomorrow brings. So we sing, 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 sing. We are becoming the song of our heart. How beautiful it is, how beautiful it is, as the flower blossoms forth. We are becoming the song of our heart. How beautiful it is, how beautiful it is, as the flower blossoms forth. Rise before the morning light, let your soul take its flight. God is with you listening, so sing, sing, sing. We sing, sing, sing. We are becoming the song of our heart. How beautiful it is, how beautiful it is, as the flower blossoms forth. Hand in hand we shall go, walking through the fields of gold. See the hawk circling, we sing, sing, sing. We sing, 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 sing. We are becoming the song of our heart. How beautiful it is, as the flower blossoms forth.
During our offertory today, we will be showing some videos of workers harvesting fruits and vegetables to go along with our theme today of making the invisible visible. We all have the privilege of going to the grocery store, purchasing these items without thinking of the people who are harvesting them. So today, I invite you to watch and witness the people behind our produce. This community of care is created through our work and time together, our commitment to one another. This is our covenant, to walk together in loving fellowship, to share our hopes and values. As we pass these baskets, we thank you for your generous gifts which support the work of this religious community and Unitarian Universalism in the world at large. As a reflection of our values, we are pleased to participate in the Change for Change program. The coins you place in the basket today will support the work of nonprofits in and around the Grand Valley. With gratitude, we will now receive today's offering. This congregation is a community of ourselves. Its energy and resources are our energy and resources. Its wealth is what we share. As we contribute to its life, we affirm our lives within it. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. Please join us in hymn number 352 in your gray hymnal, Find a Stillness.
Have any of you thought about the things that you take for granted in life? Or have any of you thought about the things that you take for granted in life recently? And I think in for me, the last few months, and even this last week, I've been paying attention to those things that I take for granted. For example, weather reporting and weather alerts and weather balloons that are up in the atmosphere that might tell us that there might be some major rain coming or some major floods. And we don't think about the people who are behind those weather balloons or the weather reporting. We don't think, I'm going to say in the last, most of my life, I don't think about that because I take for granted that there are people behind the scenes doing the work that needs to get done so that we can go to bed and feel safe at night. And those people, those scientists, are kind of invisible, right? Until they're not invisible anymore, or until they're not there anymore, and then we think, where did they go? And those videos that we showed this morning during the offertory, I was just hanging out last night thinking about what I wanted to say today, and these videos came through, and I get in my car and I drive to Safeway, and I go pick up a thing of strawberries. That's how I contribute to produce, is I go to Safeway and I buy a prepackaged thing of strawberries and I drive home and I eat it. But how did those strawberries get there? And who does that? And the watermelons. And I don't know about all of you, but the video that I just saw was a video of people working really, really hard and working really, really fast and working with a whole lot of skill. And my guess is it's pretty hot out there. And we take our strawberries for granted. We take our watermelons for granted. And my guess is that the people who we just watched in those videos are not the people who we need to be scared of. And my fear is that some of those people in those videos may be some of the people that are getting swept up in some of these ICE raids, and how many of them are maybe now in a detention center or not being able to come home to their family, or in something called Alligator Alcatraz. And I wonder how long they're going to be invisible. And I was thinking about it this morning. Not only are they invisible, they're now also being disappeared. So they're invisible and they're being disappeared to become even more invisible. And is it going to take us to not be able to get our strawberries or our watermelons or our morning coffee before we think to ourselves, maybe these people shouldn't be so invisible? So I know this morning I'm kind of preaching to the choir, so to speak, but I think I've been on social media a little too much recently, because some of the comments that I see, it seems like they're becoming more and more cruel and hardened, and, well, they shouldn't have been here, or, justifying why it's okay to treat a certain group of people without their dignity, without respect, without acknowledging that we are all connected to each other, that there's a segment of our society right now trying to, I think, in my mind, I think they're trying to justify to themselves why it's okay that what is happening is okay. Because otherwise, if you are a person that has a conscience, if you are a person that has an open heart, what is happening right now is not going to go well with your heart. And so then we have this cognitive dissonance, and then we have to justify to ourselves why it's okay to not see somebody else. And we all do that just, a little bit. That it's kind of the human nature. And I was thinking about that this week, and one of the first sermons that I ever wrote, which was, over 20 years ago now, was an experience that I had when I was just out of seminary, and I had my first job at a nursing home in Rhode Island, in Newport, Rhode Island. And it was the experience I had of walking down the hallway and not wanting to see the person in front of me who was wanting to be seen. And so I'm going to share the first part of this sermon that if you've been here for a number of years, you've probably heard part of this before. But it's called Look at Me, and it is my own experience of not wanting to see what I didn't want to see. And as I share this with all of you, I invite you to think about in your own lives, are there things that you don't really want to see? Are there people who you have been pretending not to see? I invite you just to think about it. This is called Look at Me. Look at me. I'm walking down the corridor. Ahead of me, I see a row of wheelchairs with elderly people in them. Most of them are hunched over. I hope that I can avoid eye contact and get back to the end of the hall as fast as I can. Look at me. I see a man. He is sitting in the middle of the group, one hand outstretched, the other curled up. His mouth is open. Don't make eye contact. Just keep going. Pretend you don't see him. Look at me. I see legs that are bent and prefer to stay that way. The one arm is curled into his chest. It appears to not work anymore. And he's flicking the other arm back and forth in a throwing motion. Maybe I can still walk on by. I don't want to get any closer. Please don't see me. I hope he doesn't see me looking at him. Look at me. Darn, I made eye contact. He saw me. Now I can't just walk away. With his good hand, he waves me over. Grudgingly, I walk closer to him. I don't like this. I don't feel comfortable with this. What am I going to say to this crippled person? Look at me. Now I'm in front of him. I see an open mouth with drool coming out of it. I see a mouth with no teeth. I see exactly the person who I don't want to be and hope to never become. Look at me. Now I look a little closer. I see blue eyes, beautiful blue eyes, eyes that I realize still have a spark in them, eyes that can see me, trying not to see him. He takes my hand. "Can you take me to my room?" he barely whispers. Oh no, I don't want to take this man to his room. I don't know what to do. What if he needs some kind of help? Look at me. We get back to his room. At least now I can divert my attention away from him and look at the walls. It's just the two of us. I see a wall full of pictures. I see a wall with medals hanging in a beautiful golden frame. Next to the medals, I see a photograph of a younger version of this man shaking hands with President Reagan. I look again. Could this be the same person? Look at me. I see this old man with drool coming out of his mouth, and this younger man, healthy and vibrant, shaking hands with the President of the United States. Look at me. I look a little closer, this time as if for the first time. Who are you, sir? Who is this person who has invited me into his life? Who is this person I was hoping would never notice me and was trying so hard not to notice? This old man who I had been willing to write off because of my own fears and stereotypes. Look at me. Now I look at him. What do I see? I see an old body. I see wise blue eyes that sometimes are filled with clarity and sometimes vacant with confusion. I see a story. I see a beautiful human being. I see a person I had almost completely discounted because of my own discomfort with what I didn't want to see. I see you. This is what I've been thinking about for the last few months. Who are we not seeing? Who in our own lives are we asking to become invisible? Who and what are we looking away from? I think sometimes what happens is that people are a reflection of ourselves, right? We don't look at certain people because we don't know what might be going on in our own world. We don't necessarily look at elderly people because they remind us of what we might become. We don't look at poor people because we fear the possibility of one day walking in their shoes. We don't look at the migrants or the immigrants because it's hard to imagine these people just being rounded up and disappeared And so we turn off the videos. We turn off the Facebook. We turn off the social media. And we don't see sometimes what we need to see. Because sometimes if we really look, what we see might break our heart. And we talked about that last week, about our hearts breaking and whether they're breaking open or whether they're breaking closed. But the problem is, if we are not looking and we're not seeing people, if I had never looked at that old man, you know what I remember from that day, from that encounter, even though it's been 20 years? His eyes. His eyes were so beautiful. When I finally opened my eyes to look into his eyes, that's what changed me. That's what touched my soul. And when I think about that old man, it was that spark of clarity in his eyes. I would have missed that. I would have missed that if I had allowed myself to just kind of put my eyes down and look away and pretend that I didn't see him, which as a new chaplain, I wanted to do. But then how many times do we do that in our own lives? It's something to think about. I think about the stories. All of us have stories. And we had a chaplain, for those of you that are new or visitors or guests, one of the things that I also do is I help train professional chaplains. And we had, a few years ago, I had a man who called me, and he was living in Glenwood Springs, and when he called, I could tell that English was not his first language. In fact, it was very broken English, but he really wanted to become a chaplain. And my first thought was, well, he barely speaks English. Does he really know what, But I called him back, and within about 5 minutes, I'm like, this is a pretty amazing person. He was from Puerto Rico. He'd only been here for about a year. He came here not speaking any English and had already taught himself enough English to be able to call and say that he wanted to be a chaplain. And for whatever reason, he was working, he was working in the job, any job that he could get to care for his family. And that happened to be in the veterans nursing home in Glenwood Springs. And he was working as a CNA, and he was doing the night shift. But he knew he wanted to be a chaplain, so he would work the night shift. He'd get in his car, he'd drive to Grand Junction for our CPE class, and then he'd drive home and sometimes get a few hours of sleep and then do the night shift again. And he was just, and I'm going to say just, a CNA, a man who didn't speak very much English. But when he would come and talk to the class about, his experience of, thinking from the perspective of that spiritual care, some of the stories he got were at 3 o'clock in the morning. He shared a verbatim one time of a man, a World War II veteran, who had asked him for a glass of milk in the middle of the night. And this man had never shared any of his stories before, but because this chaplain, working as a CNA, saw him, made this connection with this old man, was like, sure, let's wheel in, let's go into the kitchen, we'll sit and we'll drink a glass of milk together. That's all he did. He said yes to this old man who just wanted a glass of milk. And they sat down, and this old man, this World War II veteran, started telling his story. A story that he had never shared with anybody his wife, his family, his kids, his grandkids. He shared it with Ephraim at 3 o'clock in the morning because this beautiful soul from Puerto Rico who barely spoke English was sitting across from him with an open mind, with an open heart, and with open ears, and said, "Let me hear your story." I would say that's chaplaincy. I would say that's ministry, but I also want to say that's humanity. That's what it means to be a human being right now, looking and seeing and listening and hearing the stories. And eventually this chaplain who came here, not barely speaking any English, but he taught himself English. And in fact, what he did was he taught himself English medical terms so that eventually when he was in the hospital, he could correspond with the doctors and speak their medical terminology, which a lot of us didn't even have. And by the time he was finished with his chaplaincy training, he was very much needed and wanted and became a chaplain at the hospital in Glenwood Springs because he was bilingual. But he had the heart and the soul of the chaplain, and he could see people. He was able to see people. He was able to hear people. He knew who he was. He knew where he was going. And he knew what he wanted to do with his life. And he is a person that could have easily, very easily, quietly been overlooked because he came here. He started working at Target. Then he was working at night. But he knew that he was not invisible. He knew that he needed to be seen so that he could help see the people around him. And that's what I've been thinking about this week. This is our job, especially right now, because there are people with a lot of power and a lot of money who really, really, really want us to be looking away. Nothing to see here. There is no list. There is no abuse. People are not being disappeared, except there is a list. There is abuse. People are being disappeared, and the only way that that continues to happen is if the people collectively, the 13 million people that showed up for the No King's Day protest, if we all collectively look down, turn away, and decide not to see what is in front of us. That's how people become invisible. So the way that we continue to make sure that people around us are not becoming invisible is that each and every one of us needs to look around and see them and see each other and ask ourselves, who is it that I don't see right now? Because there's probably somebody. And with that, I think we should maybe sing. Our closing hymn is number 128, For All That Is Our Life. extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Your way in peace, wander as you may. Blessed is the path you take. May love guide you on your way. Go now in peace. Amen.